Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire are trying to purge Tucker Carlson from conservative media as the conservative media split between the neocons and the paleoconservatives, or the traditional conservatives, or normal American conservatives who aren't interested in ongoing ethnic conflicts or land disputes halfway around the world.
Joe Rogan recently had Tucker Carlson on his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. And of course, the Daily Wire took massive offense to this. I'm sure you've seen the clips over and over again at this point if you've been following my content. But Ben Shapiro took major offense to the things that Tucker Carlson was saying on the Joe Rogan Experience, because he was saying to not blindly follow the government. But in reality, this isn't about Tucker Carlson's appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience. Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire have had a vendetta against Tucker Carlson for a very long time, and Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro have gone back and forth on different podcast appearances when they are asked about one another, attacked one another, and Ben Shapiro just seems to be extremely petty on this situation, and Mark Dice absolutely shreds Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire for trying to purge Tucker Carlson from, the conservative media and from the right in general. Let's check out this clip here from Mark Dice just absolutely destroying the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro for their comments on the Tucker Carlson appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire are trying to purge Tucker Carlson from conservative media as the conservative media split between the neocons and the paleoconservatives, or the traditional conservatives, or normal American conservatives who aren't interested in ongoing ethnic conflicts or land disputes halfway around the world that have nothing to do with us and don't want to be funding them with our tax dollars. Now, Ben Shapiro has been trying to get rid of Tucker Carlson for some time now, but the latest round of attacks came after Tucker appeared on the Joe Rogan podcast. And this split between the neocons, the new conservatives, the liberal fake conservatives, has occurred previously in history. It occurred back in the 1960s when the establishment Republicans got rid of the John Birch Society. Then it happened in the 1980s when they hijacked the Republican Party and got rid of paleoconservatives like Pat Buchanan and Joseph Sobrin. And now it is happening again with Ben Shapiro leading the charge, the artificial anointed king of conservative media, because of the countless millions of dollars that the Daily Wire pays to Facebook and YouTube in order to boost him in the algorithms, something that I've demonstrated in previous videos. One of the things that Tucker...
It's crazy how many people don't know that either. The fact that the Daily Wire literally runs ads on their videos, it looks like they get a ton of views, but in reality, a lot of those are paid for because their main funnel is to get people from the YouTube, not just Ben Shapiro's channels, but also all the Daily Wire network channels, Matt Walsh, Brett Cooper, all of them, and get them over to the website and have them pay for memberships and stuff like that. That's the main funnel. So a lot of their views are actually, just ads that they run to boost their view count, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just shocking to me how many people don't actually know that, and don't actually know that a lot of Daily Wire talent were just actors and stuff like that. Like Brett Cooper was just an actress and she just got hired and told to spew certain talking points. But I think what's happening now is that people like Ben Shapiro, they kind of are running out of left-wing people and woke people to attack. And now they're trying to attack the phantom woke right in Tucker Carlson, when in reality, I think Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire are the ones who are the woke right, if there is such a thing. They're the ones that are telling us that if we don't go along with the government, narratives that they're giving us and the mainstream media narratives that are being spewed to us, that we're, not critical thinkers and un-American and stuff like that, just for asking questions. That's literally what the left has been doing. That's literally what you have been complaining about. Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire have been complaining about the left doing, canceling people who are going against or simply asking questions about what we are being told to do and to believe. That's what people on the right have been so pissed off about for the last 5 or so years. And now the Daily Wire is doing the exact same thing. It's just because they have a personal vendetta against Tucker Carlson, or they're completely sold out. They completely sold out to someone who told them, you no longer get to question things and you must oppose anyone who ever questions things that is the mainstream narratives. Because if we're not allowed to question the things that Tucker Carlson was just simply asking questions about on the Joe Rogan Experience, he wasn't making any concrete statements. If we're not allowed to question those things, what have we been fighting against for the last 5 or so years? That's literally the thing that we've been fighting against, is cancel culture, and you're participating in it. You're trying to cancel Tucker Carlson for asking questions on Joe Rogan's podcast. The Joe Rogan Experience, everybody does that. It's a Joe Rogan podcast, dude. everybody gets conspiratorial on that. That's what the podcast is for.
Mentioned when speaking with Joe Rogan was he didn't think that it was necessary for the United States to drop atomic bombs on Japan in World War II in order to force them to surrender, because, as I'll show you some of the quotes in just a moment, many historians and even military leaders back then said that they were already going to surrender. And so Tucker just saw that as an unnecessary act of destruction and loss of civilian life. And so that upset.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
At the Daily Wire, because that's analogous to what Israel is doing to justify their actions in Gaza in order to try to get rid of Hamas. So Ben Shapiro's hype man, Jeremy Boring, the CEO of the Daily Wire, took to Twitter to make a not so subtle dig at Tucker by conflating and really fabricating what the discussion was about with Joe, saying people who deny the moon landing, which Tucker doesn't do, maybe Joe Rogan does, but
he doesn't. I don't even think Joe Rogan does that. I'm pretty sure Joe Rogan did a podcast a couple of episodes after the Tucker Carlson one with someone who has, you know, his claim, he wrote a book and everything like that. He's a debunker of the moon landing. And I'm pretty sure Joe Rogan took the stance of the moon landing is real and was going against that guy. And Tucker Carlson never once said that the moon landing was fake on the Joe Rogan podcast. He just said it's one of those things that we should be asking questions about, that have a, there's shady surroundings around the topic of the moon landing. There's a lot of things that have just been weird about that whole situation, as well as the other things that I mentioned here by Jeremy Boring. There was no concrete statements from Tucker Carlson that these things are wrong or fake or anything, just that we should ask questions about them.
He did talk about a bunch of different conspiracies like UFOs or UAPs, which Tucker has fallen down that rabbit hole, which is a topic for a whole other video, and 9/11. So Jeremy Boring says, or if you suggest that America is evil for its use of atomic weapons against Imperial Japan, or say that George W. Bush was behind the you-know-what back on you-know-when, then you actually hate this country. So if you just don't believe what the government says about events that they are obviously lying about, then according to the Daily Wire, you hate America. Then yesterday, Little Ben spent half of his show attacking Tucker and defending.
And by the way, real quick, Joe Rogan, the podcast with the moon landing debunker guy after the Tucker Carlson one, brought up a great point. And it's, why should we believe these things that they're telling us, that the government, the mainstream media is telling us are the narratives that we're supposed to believe? What evidence should we use to justify us believing them? What have they not lied about? Is a great question to ask. And I would love for someone to ask Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring, what important historical event have we not found out sometime in the future that they have lied to us about?
Dropping the A-bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But this isn't about what happened back during World War II. This is about what's happening now over in Gaza. And so Little Ben is defending the massive loss of civilian life in Japan, just like he just trying to ignore and then is justifying the massive loss of civilian life, men, women, and children, non-Hamas members, over there in Gaza. Little Ben and Fox News and Newsmax and none of the mainstream conservative media want you to actually see what it is that Israel has been doing over there. Like this clip, which you could see as far as the eye can see, has been totally flattened. But they're just making target strikes, they say. They're just targeting Hamas, even though this entire city is flattened. But this is exactly what many neocons and Zionist Jews want. They want to ethnically cleanse. They want to remove all Palestinians from Gaza. Some of them openly admit this, like Joel Pollack, the editor of Breitbart.com, Breitbart News, who posted exactly that on Twitter, and then it violated the terms of service because he was calling for violence, and then that tweet got taken down, and he apologized, but of course, he doesn't actually believe the apology. He believes what he said in the fit of rage. Dwight Eisenhower, who would later become president of the United States, during World War II was a Supreme Allied Commander, a 5-star general. And he said that he was against it on 2 counts, dropping the A-bomb. First, the Japanese were ready to surrender, and it wasn't necessary to hit them with that awful thing. Second, I hated to see our country be the first to use such a weapon.
So I wonder if the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro, Mark Dice is talking about here, I wonder if they would agree that Dwight Eisenhower is also anti-American and hates America because he also questioned these things. I just don't understand how something with this much, like it seems like it's very split, like maybe 50-50 or 60-40 or whatever. Even amongst Americans who are alive at the time and historians who are alive now, it seems very split on whether the United States had to use the atom bombs on Japan in order to get them to surrender. It seems very split. I don't understand how the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro, and Jeremy Boring can come out and say that Tucker Carlson and anyone else is evil for simply questioning if we had to drop those bombs on those innocent civilians. I don't understand how they can say that whenever it's this split. It seems like a very obvious question to ask, especially, if you're open-minded to it. And it seems like a very interesting discussion to have as well. And something that's never going to have an answer because Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring are operating off hypotheticals where they say, we needed to because it saved the lives of Americans and ultimately Japanese as well. We don't know that though, because we never got to see it through. We don't know if it ultimately did save those lives. We don't know. They might have surrendered anyway. They might have not. You're operating off hypotheticals and using them as if they are a scientific fact when they're just not.
Another U.S. general, General Henry H. Hap Arnold, said, "It always appeared to us that atomic bomb or no atomic bomb, the Japanese were already on the verge of collapse." Later, as president, Dwight Eisenhower would make these famous remarks during his farewell address to the nation.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals.
Back in December, I uploaded a video titled "The Neocons versus Paleoconservatives, How They Are Different and Why It Matters," which you should definitely watch if you missed it. I'll try to leave a link to that in the description below if I remember when I upload this.
Yeah, you should definitely go check that out. Check out the rest of this video by Mark Dice as well. It was a great video of him absolutely just destroying Ben Shapiro, just like everybody else is. I mean, if you're on the side of Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire on this, please let me know in the comments why and try to justify it. It's insane to me that anyone could be defending their stance on this and that we should never question the government and what the mainstream media tells us. I just don't understand it. Anyway, let me know what you think about Mark Dice going in on Ben Shapiro for trying to attack Tucker Carlson's appearance over on the Joe Rogan Experience. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments about this whole situation. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and hope to see you guys on the next one.